Welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about how to get good at sales. So this video is specifically for those of you who are selling a really high ticket item, or you're selling something with a long sales cycle, or you're in a market that is extremely competitive. In all three of those cases, you are the differentiator. So I'm going to help you stand out, build trust, and be more memorable, whatever the circumstances. So whether you're a natural born seller or whether it's something that you've been thrown into, or maybe it's a little of both, there are some things that are changing in the marketplace over the past few years that require a new skill set. So even if you're brand new to sales, it's a great time to be watching this video because you are at the same advantage as everybody else, because all of the salespeople who've been around forever, they're having to learn these new approaches as well. So it's kind of a level playing field. And if you've got an open mind about this stuff, fantastic. So let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to give you some of my top ideas for how you can stand out, how you can build that trust, how you can become unforgettable so that when they are ready to buy, they think of you and they're less likely to price shop. They're less likely to look at your competitors. You've already built that relationship, so it's an easy sell. Sound good? Let's do this. Okay, when I mentioned that you are the differentiator, that is so true in so many cases. Unless you're selling a widget and you have a sales cycle of they walk into a store and that's that, then you have to be able to be the differentiator. And that is what I call standing out in the sea of sameness. So if your prospects can't tell you apart from your competitors or your business apart from your competitor's business, that's a challenge. And when all things seem equal to your prospects, you can make a huge difference in whether or not your company gets that sale or not. So building your personal brand is critically important. How do you do that? Well, part of your personal brand is identifying what do you stand for? What are your values? I would actually take time to think about this and write them down. What do you stand for? Why should your customers trust you? Why should they choose you? Why should they develop a relationship with you? Write those down and think about those as you build your communications. You're going to need to build out how you communicate on social media, your LinkedIn profile, if you're B2B, all of these things that are going to require you to communicate and humanize yourself. And then, what are your differentiators? Now, take a look at what you're selling, what it does, what your company does, what's your company's promise, what is the product or services promise, what's your promise, and how are you going to talk about it differently? Let's say you're selling cars. A customer can literally go anywhere, even online, and find the same car with the same features with very few exceptions. So you, in this case, are the huge differentiator. So how are you going to talk about what you do differently rather than just always shouting into the void, we're having a sale, we're the best, here are our features, here are our benefits? That is a sea of sameness. And when all of your competitors are doing that, you can stand out by being the one who does not. So take a look, do a little research, pick out your top maybe 5 competitors and look at what they're saying. And I bet you will find similarities, and it's boring to your prospects and it doesn't help them make a decision as to who they're going to give the business to. So how can you take that thing that you want to communicate and communicate it differently? So, for example, I am a professional speaker. I write books. I do coaching all about sales and marketing, and differentiating and consumer behavior is the foundation of all that. Well, there are a ton of speakers who can claim a skill in any one of those things, but none of them says it like I do. If you go to my website, or if you look at the banner on my YouTube channel, if you look at my business card, everything consistently says, I help humans and companies stand out, build trust, and be unforgettable. So that is how I have figured out how to say differently, I'm a marketing speaker. So how can you say what it is that you represent, what you sell or what you do? How can you just say it differently and be consistent? Figure out how you can have that roll off your tongue and have it be the same everywhere. Okay, next is part of your personal brand, and we're going to talk about 5 other things besides your personal brand, so stick around, but the personal brand is so important since you're the differentiator. So I want to talk about your image. Do you have something that sets you apart in a visual field? Like say you meet prospects at a conference. Do you have something visual that is like your signature something that you always wear? For me, I'm almost always, of course not today, but I'm almost always wearing pink. My brand is pink and black and white. That's what I wear when I'm speaking on stage. That's what I wear at conferences. That's what I usually wear on videos. I'm wearing one of my colors today. It's not pink, but those are my signature colors, and I'm almost always wearing those. And so we all know people that rock a bow tie rather than a traditional tie at things. We know people that have like a unique hairstyle, or they're always wearing a certain pin or something. So what can you come up with? Like there are people who rock the really cool different socks, and I mean, there's so many things that you can do, but is there some sort of signature look that you can adopt that will help people remember you in a really crowded marketplace, at a crowded conference? Maybe they see you, out to dinner one night and they recognize you because of whatever that thing is. So think about that. And I mentioned briefly your LinkedIn, your other social media. How are you appearing on those? Do you have a look? Do you have a similar style? Do you have a way that you write about yourself? I will do an entire separate video on LinkedIn because it's so critically important if you're doing B2B sales. But if not, think about all the places where you communicate with your prospects and customers. So your business cards, if you still have a paper business card, how is that different? Do you have your picture on it? Is it a boring headshot like everybody else, or is it something of you where you're doing something you love, like skiing or hiking or holding your dog? Your signature block on your email, does it say something different? I help people be different and become more memorable. So on my signature block in my email, I have, here are 3 memorable things about me. And they're weird and memorable, and people very often mention that. On my website, I have a picture of my dog. I try to do these little things that are going to help people. I plant seeds so that I'm more memorable in everything that I do. So think about everywhere you appear to your prospects and customers, and how are you being consistently different from your competition. Okay, so now moving on from personal brand, the next way you can become really good at sales is by adjusting your mindset a little bit. Now, research has shown that at any given time, only 3% of customers are ever ready to buy at that moment. But most salespeople focus only on the 3% because of course, we all want a quick sale. We all want a quick return on our time and energy, of course. But 97% of your potential customers aren't ready to buy yet. So this is the perfect time to nurture those relationships and to really build that trust and become the only one that they think of when they are ready to buy. So how can you do that? Well, it is by focusing on the relationship. So what can you do for them? Not just all the time, give me your money, here's a sale, here's our widget, here's the features, here's the benefits. So it's about talking about what you do, talking about your customers, shining a spotlight on somebody at your company, shining a spotlight on a vendor who just saved your bacon through some heroic act that they did. It's about telling stories rather than simply selling all the time. Go look at my channel. I have dozens and dozens of videos about content creation and coming up with a plan and the 7 pillars of a content strategy so that you're not always just saying the same thing over and over again, because nothing gets prospects to tune out faster than when they're constantly sold at or something is really repetitive, especially today. Your prospects following the past few years are exhausted, they're distrustful, they're super skeptical, and they don't pay attention to stuff that doesn't suit their interests. So how can you stop the scroll? Whether you're on social media or wherever you are. So how can you tell a different story? How can you connect and start to build that relationship with those other 97%? So watch my other videos on content and telling your story differently. Humans resonate with stories. In fact, stories are the number one way to stand out on social media, to build trust, and to become unforgettable. So if you're not leveraging the power of stories, you are missing out on nurturing those amazing, powerful, profitable relationships. Okay, the next thing, this may be a no-brainer, but I didn't always use one. It is to use a CRM. What kind of system are you using to keep track of all of your prospects and customers? Literally, it doesn't have to be Salesforce. It can be an Excel spreadsheet. But obviously, the more advanced the tool, A, the more work it is, but B, hopefully the more effective it is. And this is just a factor of how much work you put into it. But the more you can remember what it is that you said to a particular customer, if you did have a call or you did meet them in person, if you can remember something that they said they needed or wanted, or something that's challenging them, something that's frustrating them, especially if it has nothing to do with you, these are opportunities that you can follow up on down the line to build a relationship by being selfless in how you connect, in how you help, in what you offer to do for them. When you come across something of interest or a person and say, oh my gosh, you need to meet this person, and selflessly do these types of things, but keep track of them and keep track of when you want to be sure and ping your prospects and customers so it doesn't go too long, because you never know when that 97% may be closer to buying unless you're in touch. Okay, and the next one is, when you do have a sale, are you asking for testimonials? Are you asking for referrals? Are you asking for reviews? Are you asking for introductions? This is a huge fail, sadly, by most sales professionals. When they're done with a sale, they just walk away, especially if it's a one-off sale. Maybe you sold somebody something that's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I don't know, I can't think, like solar panels for their house that are going to last long after you're still selling solar panels. So, you know, that it doesn't make sense to maybe keep nurturing that sale, or so most salespeople think. But nurturing that relationship with a trusted existing customer is going to bring all kinds of value to you down the road. So keep nurturing those existing customers as well. But also ask, when you're done, ask for a testimonial. And hint, video testimonials are the best. And if you happen to be in person with that individual who just bought from you and they're saying wonderful things to you, what I often do myself is I say, would you mind repeating what you just said into my phone? I would love to, you know, put that out on my social media or show that to my mom, or, you know, whatever. But video testimonials are the best. Of course, if you live off of reviews on Yelp or Google, or if those would help you, have you looked at yours lately, by the way? Endorsements on LinkedIn, anywhere where they can say, this person did a great job, I trust them. Hugely valuable, hugely valuable. And referrals, are you asking for introductions to people that are like them? Like, hey, it was so much fun to work with you. How do I find more cool people like you? Like, where do the yous hang out? And do you have anyone off the top of your head that you could introduce me to? Even if they're not in the market for this, I just really would like to connect with really cool people like you, and you never know. I once heard this fantastic thing from a fellow speaker who said, I would rather be referred 5 times than have somebody buy from me once. So referrals are important. And if somebody has never bought from you, you can still ask the question. I just turned down somebody who prospected me via email and asked me are you ready for 100 new coaching clients? No, I'm not. No. And so I just said, I'm not your customer. I don't have that kind of bandwidth or the desire. No, thank you. And he responded back and said, I really appreciate your candor. Thank you. As we all know as salespeople, lots of times it just goes into the void and nobody responds back. Well, he said, do you happen to know anybody that would be interested in this? And As a professional speaker, so many of my colleagues are also coaches. So as a matter of fact, yeah, I kind of do. So are you asking even non-customers for referrals? And the last tip is, however you reach out, if you're doing outbound prospecting like most of us are, be respectful in how you do the approach and how you do the ask. So I just did a whole video on this. It is called How to Prospect a B2B Company, and I will include that here so you can easily watch that next if that's up your alley. But basically, in a nutshell, 3 of the things that you don't ever want to do when you're reaching out, whether it's by phone, whether it's by email, whether it's LinkedIn, it doesn't matter. Don't ever be presumptuous and say, hey, I'm gonna call you next Thursday at 3. That is such an old-fashioned tactic, and frankly, it's a little presumptuous and annoying to your customers these days. So rather than that, say to them, hey, I would love to know when your hair is least likely to be on fire. I know you're juggling chainsaws probably all day, all week, every week. When is a good time for me to follow up with you? And also, what is the best way? What I say personally is, what is the least annoying way for me to follow up with you? And when is the best time for me to send you information that might be helpful? What I don't ever do is just blurt out all the information and send links and attachments and go, here is everything I do and why you should hire me. That will get you ignored. Then on out. You have just blown your chance. You can't build a relationship anymore. They're going to ignore any future emails, calls, everything. You've blown it. So instead, try a different approach by asking them and being respectful and then doing whatever it is that they say they want. If they say, I'm not ready until next year, don't follow up with them every month until next year. Just put them in your CRM and set yourself a reminder unless something amazing comes up or you want to do something selfless for them. And that's it. So thanks for sticking around. Check out that next video of B2B sales and prospecting is up your alley. And I appreciate a like or a follow or a referral to somebody who would love the content that I put out. Thank you so much.